Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm happy to be with you. Whoops, what did I just do? I'm messing my own thingy up. There we go. All right. I wanted to have a better, anyway. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Welcome to another episode of Deportation Defense Live. Thank you for being here. It is the 4th of October of 2022. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Here at the Deportation Defense Live, we're here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants who are facing deportation to make the most out of immigration law, to make the most out of their lives, and to win their cases. Are you facing removal in immigration court? Do you know someone who is facing removal in immigration court? Because if so, you know that it is not easy, all right? It is an uphill battle. The laws are against us. And we are here to maximize your chances of winning that case. All right? Today, our theme is what is going on at the U.S. border right now, and what do you need to know if you're going to the border? And so, thank you to everyone who asked your questions. We've received some questions ahead of time. And if you have a question as we go through this topic, hey, please send it over. All right? And as always, we'll do this in English and then we'll do this in Spanish. Si usted habla español, que venga en unos 30 minutos y vamos a hacerlo en español. All right? So let's get right into it. As always, I like to start with an empowerment tip. All right? This is Deportation Defense Live, but it's part of the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. I like to empower people. It's one of my driving forces, all right? So yesterday I was listening to a talk by a gentleman named Jordan Peterson. Check him out if you have questions about it. And it got me thinking. He was describing that, there was a lot in there, but one of the things he described is that criminals, people that harm others, sociopaths, sexual predators, bad guys, right? Bad guys. Bad guys often believe that they themselves don't matter. I'll say that again. Bad guys often believe that they themselves don't matter. They believe that their own life, their own existence, is fairly unimportant. All right? And that belief often has them to be either angry and envious that other people might go through life thinking that they are more important, or maybe being more important, or that it has them just believe that other people are also unimportant, that life in general it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Got it? And if you think about that from society's perspective, it doesn't work. All right? If you think about that, if everybody were walking around saying, hey, I don't matter, you don't matter, nothing matters, I can be rude to you, it doesn't even make a difference. I can harm you in some way, it doesn't even make any difference. All right? If that were the philosophy, you'd have crime. No one would really be able to trust anyone. You'd have all kinds of antisocial behavior. All kinds of antisocial behavior. And yet, the optimistic, all right, is that all of, that fact is evidence, isn't it? It's evidence that maybe the truth is, it's evidence, I'll say it again, that maybe the truth is that people do matter. That society to function requires a fundamental belief that people do matter, including immigrants. that immigrants matter, that you matter. Got it? My tip today is to always remember that you matter, and everyone else that you come into contact with. In fact, all life, it's important. Treat others as if they are important, because they are. And treat yourself and your immigration case, by the way, as if you matter, because you do. All right? That's my tip for today. So thank you for listening to that. Hope that was useful. Hope that was interesting for you. I thought it was an interesting conversation. Wanted to share it. All right, now we will get into our topic today, which is the border, the U.S. border. Okay? And as always, I'll start with the basics. So the basics are when a person arrives to the border, all right, whether they're arriving by land, whether they're arriving at the airport, or even like at a seaport, they came in on a cruise or something, all right? When anybody arrives to the United States, however they're arriving, if they're arriving the way that they're, by going to a border checkpoint, right, they will pass through customs, all right? An officer will ask them to show them their documents, typically like a valid passport. If they have a passport with a valid visa, an entry permit in it, the officer will ask a question or two to make sure that the person is in compliance with their visa category. If they believe that they are in compliance with their visa category, they'll admit them into the United States, or in some instances, parole them into the United States. If there's a doubt about whether or not they're in compliance with their visa category, they'll send them to something called secondary inspection, all right, which can be frustrating and can cause delays, but there also some officer will ask them more questions and make sure they're in compliance with their visa. What happens if a person doesn't have a visa and they're turning themselves in, and they're entering the country without a document to enter? Well, then they will be turned around, or they'll be put into what we call expedited removal proceedings. All right? And now at this stage, many people may say, hey, don't remove me, don't deport me, don't send me back to my home country, because my life is in danger in my home country, and I request the opportunity to seek asylum. And many people do that, and there's lots of, questions about that, but that is perfectly legal under U.S. law. It's perfectly legal under international law. Okay? So those are like the basics. That's kind of what's happening every day, all day long at the border. And just to give you some stats, right, just so far this year, there's been 20.2 million visa holders who have entered the U.S. legally on visas. All right? So far this year, there have been 2.5 million people who've been encountered by Border Patrol crossing the country without permission. All right? And just so far this year, there's been 50,513 and growing credible fear interviews for people who are claiming asylum and then be given a credible fear interview. Do you know somebody that's in any of those categories? Entered on a visa, crossed illegally, was caught, and is going through the credible fear interview process? All right? So when they're in that situation, whatever the situation is, here's some tips if you're arriving to the border. Okay? Number one, be honest. All right? Be honest. I don't care if you're submitting asylum. I don't care if you've got a visa that you're showing. You want to share the truth, right? You don't want to misrepresent yourself. That causes inadmissibility. It causes problems. It causes asylum cases to get denied. You don't want to lie. Be honest, okay? Tip number two, show your documents, whatever you have, all right? Understand whatever it is that you are using as your entry document. If you've got a visa in your passport, say it's a tourist visa, understand the limitations of a tourist visa, for example, all right? That you can't enter for more than 6 months. You can't intend to be staying in the United States. You've got to demonstrate your ties to your home country, things like that. Whatever your visa category is, tourist visa or whatever, you want to understand the limitations, the legal responsibilities, and the legal rights for that visa category. If you're here on a tourist visa, you cannot work, you cannot study. You're here as a tourist. All right? Go to Disneyland, visit some friends, and then leave the U.S. That is the purpose of that particular category of visa. You got to understand it. Okay? If you don't have documents, and if you're seeking asylum, then you want to prepare for what is often a very awful experience. You want to be prepared. Okay? Often you'll be detained. Sometimes, very commonly, you'll be detained about 10 days or so waiting for an interview, your credible fear interview. Some interviews are approved, some interviews are denied. If your interview is approved and successful, often you could be released from detention. Some people are not released, though. Okay? Like, it's an awful process. They can transfer you to different locations throughout the United States. And many people lose their credible fear interview and end up getting deported. All right, I was speaking just this morning with someone who, my advice is, look, I'm sorry, you've lost your credible fear interview. You're going to be deported. All right? And yeah, there's an appeal process. Go through that process. But the chances of winning after that negative credible fear finding are low. And so sometimes we got to have that advice, and sometimes we got to have those hard conversations. So anyway, be prepared for a tough conversation, for a tough process if it's an asylum case, and if possible, prepare as much as you possibly can before going to the border. Okay? Lastly, I want everybody to just be prepared for Border Patrol to not believe you. Be prepared for Border Patrol to not respect you. Be prepared for Border Patrol, the officer, to be like rough and just completely skeptical and think every word out of your mouth is a lie. Look, U.S. Border Patrol officers, they see crazy things. They see crazy things. I was reading that just last week, Border Patrol officers confiscated 150,000 pounds of meth and drugs trying to be smuggled into the United States. Like, they see pretty crazy situations. All right? And so often Border Patrol officials, it's like they're suspicious of everyone. They're suspicious of everyone. And you got to understand that. And so don't give them a reason to suspect you. That's why you want to be honest. You want to be 100% transparent with them, and you want to be clear with them about who you are, where you're going, what you're doing. Hide nothing. All right? And yes, they can search your social media, and yes, they can open your Facebook account, and yes, they can confiscate and look through your phone. And that seems like, oh, they're violating my rights. Hey, they do it all the time. All right? And you got to know that they can do that. And so, be aware. Be aware that they can and often do those types of searches. And they do it, yes, in the name of national security, but they do it because sometimes they will do it when they don't believe you for some reason. So if you're just honest and transparent from the beginning, you'll minimize your chances of having that type of problem. All right? So be clear about what you're wanting and planning to do on your trip to the U.S., including if it's to file asylum. Here I'm filing for asylum for these reasons, Border Patrol, and I've got a legitimate case, and I'm afraid for my life, and I would be killed on account of my race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. That's my case. And so whatever the situation is, be prepared before you go to the border so that you maximize your chances of it going as smoothly as possible, and understand that often it doesn't go smoothly, but you are in control of your life, your case, and you can go in as prepared as possible to give you the best chances of having as smooth of a process as possible. All right? And that's really the purpose of my talk today. Okay? So that's what I wanted to say today. Hope that was useful. Hope that was helpful. Now I want to get into your questions. And if you're just tuning in, hey, welcome. Welcome, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding immigration attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And I have received some questions. So let's see here. Santiago, I see your question here. Your question is, hey, I posted a bond for a friend in Texas in 2019. I'd like to know the status and to update my address, and I don't know how. Can you help? All right. So there's a change of address form. We call it the form AR11, and you can do that. All right, you can do that. Send it to the address where you paid the ICE bond. You could also go there in person if you have questions, and ICE is there. Hey, I'm the obligor, that's the term, on this particular case, and I want to update my address, right? They have the forms right there, typically at least, in the ERO office, so you can do it there. And the best way to know the status of the bond is to ask your friend who you posted the bond for how their case is going. Because remember, Santiago, if you file a bond, what you're saying is, what you're kind of guaranteeing with that bond money is that the person who's now getting released from detention is going to continue with their case. All right? And if they win, you get the bond back. If they lose and comply with actually being deported, also you get the bond money back. But if they run away from the process, if they don't continue with their process, then you lose the money. That's the way a bond works. All right? It's almost like a guarantee, a financial guarantee that the person who's released from detention isn't going to just run away. And so the best way to know the status of the case is to call your friend up and say, hey, when's your next hearing? How's things going? Anything else I can support you with in your case? How's it going? All right? Like you as the obligor, you have every right to at least ask that. They can say, hey, I don't want to tell you the nitty-gritty details, but my next hearing is next year or whatever, and I've got a lawyer and they're helping me and whatever else they want to say. All right? Sometimes immigration cases are very private and personal in nature, so somebody might not want to say all the crazy details that somebody's gone through in their life, but they might want to, often they'll be appreciative that you posted a bond and that they're not having to be in jail, right, during their process. And so thank you, Santiago, for having helped that person in that way. Okay? All right, the next question that I have comes from Warzi. I think I'm pronouncing that name right. Warzi, thank you. You say, I'm currently in Canada as a refugee, and I have a U.S. citizen wife and 2 kids in the U.S. Can I come to the U.S. through the Canada-U.S. border and seek asylum in the U.S.? Can I get exemption from a third safe country due to my U.S. family? Can I adjust my status once in the U.S. if my wife files for me? Interesting. Warzi, thank you for asking this question. Here's my quick and dirty analysis. Citizens of Canada can enter the U.S. just, by showing their Canadian citizenship and can get a certain amount of time in the U.S., I believe it's 90 days, visa-less entry. You don't even need a visa in the passport via treaty between the United States and Canada. Okay? So yes, you can enter the U.S. Can you seek asylum in the U.S.? No. All right? You already have asylee status or refugee status in Canada, according to your message. And so when you have, I mean, unless your life is in danger in Canada, which that's going to be a hard case to make, right? Unless you're being persecuted and your life is in danger in Canada, you could request asylum from Canada. That's going to be really tough. I believe you're not going to prevail on that argument. But if you have a U.S. citizen wife and 2 kids, have your spouse file a petition for you, all right? You can come in, be with your family, have your spouse petition for you. Like, we can help you with a case like that. If you have questions about how to strategize a case like that, like, hey, give us a call. We'd love to help you with that. Don't do it through asylum in the U.S. Do it through your spouse, all right? And yes, that is a winnable case, and let's just help you, guide you through how to do it. Okay. I don't see that we've received any other questions. If you have a question, please send it in. I'd love to answer it. But I don't see that we've received any other questions today, so maybe we'll just leave it at that. And thanks to everyone for being here. And if you do have another question and you want to send it in, hey, send it over. I'd love to still answer it. To do that, I would upload it to our YouTube channel. And so to see those questions and answers, check out our YouTube channel and hit subscribe, click the notifications bell, and you'll be notified when we update additional videos with updates and news and what's going on in immigration. And if you have an immigration case, hey, we'd love to help you. We are here to help you. Please feel free to give us a call. We'd love to do that. Okay? So that's it, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm your host today. Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And we'll see you next time on our next episode of Deportation Defense Live. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.